So what is up, guys? Been a little while since I did my last video. You know, I've had a lot of stuff going on, and it's been some stuff I needed to get through. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you today about an item that has pretty much single-handedly revived my absolute obsession with my rifle. You know, the DDM4 V5 that I have is a phenomenal rifle right out of the box, but you know, after you've had anything for a while and whatnot, you know, you're just looking for some change. You're looking to do something to make it a little new, you know, freshen it up. And you know, after kind of assessing the way that I put my rifle to use, I sort of determined that the handrail, while it's an awesome piece that comes on that rifle, maybe it was just a little bit more than what I needed. And being that, you know, lately the thing is going with these smaller tubular style handrails, you know, I figured I wanted to take a stab at one, check it out, and see what I thought. So after talking to some people that I really respect in the industry and, you know, getting hands-on with a few of the different offerings, the one that I ended up deciding on was what you see right here. And what this is the 14-inch CMR by Centurion Arms. This rail is available in quite a few different sizes. I think now they have a 9-inch. I know they have a 12-inch, this one, the 14-inch, and they may even have another one. And then they also make this rail for, you know, 308 platform in at least the 12 and 14, from what I understand. Anyway, this is the 5.56 version, and this thing is an absolutely phenomenal addition to my rifle. So, I just want to, you know, take a look at it. Let's jump right in. First of all, this is a one-piece design, this rail, very, very lightweight. This rail weighs 11.6 ounces with all the hardware and the barrel nut. So a very streamlined, neat, and lightweight, you know, piece of kit, an item to swap out for the stock rail, making the front end even lighter. Now, the first thing to talk about on this handrail is the insane machining that goes into this piece. It's probably going to be difficult for you guys to tell on this video, but this thing is one of the smoothest weapon parts I've ever laid my hands on. Every single area here you can see on these swivel areas, everything has been radiused and rounded off, smoothed out. Every part here, along all these holes, it's very smooth to the touch. You can see, I'm trying to get it to focus in close here, if it will, how insane the machining is on this. Look around that sling swivel. Just phenomenal. Everything rounded, smooth to the touch. All these holes here. All the edges for mounting. This thing is absolutely phenomenal piece of metal work. Anyway, the benefit, or you know, one main aspect of this rail is that instead of going with the standard, you know, Picatinny on the 3, 6, and 9, what Centurion Arms has done with this is just really taken it down to the simplest level of what a handrail needs to be. It doesn't have tons of, you know, I know that everybody right now is on the key mod bandwagon, and that's fine. Key mod's a cool, you know, mounting platform, but to be honest, I find this to be even simpler than that. What you have here are just threaded mounting holes along the sides. You can see they're widely spaced here, and then at the front where you would mount anything like a light or whatnot, they bring it in for a little bit tighter spacing. Those holes right there have helicoil inserts in them, so it's kind of like first it's reinforced to prevent the threads from stripping, and second of all, it's got a kinked coil in there to lock the mounting screws down very tight. The rest of these mounting holes are just threaded. So the side like that, it's got the sling swivels on the front and on the back here, and they're anti-rotational sling swivels. On the bottom, you see a lot closer spacing on the holes, and that is to give you even more, positioning, adjustability on the positioning of anything you're running on the bottom of the rail here. All of those are also just threaded into the main body. And then on this side, it's a mirror image of the other side with the wider spaced holes here, and then the helicoiled tighter ones near the front. Inside the rail, you can see how they've reinforced all the areas where the screw holes are threaded through, so you've got plenty of threads for the screws to bite. In between the thinnest part on the inside, the inner diameter there is 1.12 inches. The exterior OD of this area, the outside diameter of this area here, is 1.56 inches. And the OD at the widest part here at the sling swivels is 1.75 inches. You can see they did the normal 1913 pick rail across the top to give you the same flat top performance as the DDM4 V5 comes with. Look at the nice finishing off on the rail all around. And then they even included some spacing there, some holes there for even more venting along the top. Anti-rotational tabs here. And then the way that this thing mounts up, and I'm going to show you, it comes with the proprietary barrel nut here. This is the front. Install this on. This is a very nice, clean fit into the rail there. And then the center hole up here, when this is pressed all the way in, the screw that goes through this center hole right here locks into that slot in the barrel nut to stop the rail from coming forward. These are there's three grade 8 hardware bolts there, and then they are opposing, 2 on one side, 1 on the other, and the mounting holes are also helicoiled for a nice tight non-stripping area that's going to lock down hard on the mounting bolts and hold them in place. All in all, this thing is just an absolutely phenomenal, insanely small piece, and it just changes the rifle altogether into something totally brand new and awesome. I just absolutely love it. So anyway, give me a second and I'm going to grab my rifle. This barrel nut's actually a spare. I have a barrel nut already installed on the rifle, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how this mounts on, and go ahead and throw it on my rifle so you can see what it looks like when it's on. Alright guys, so when it comes to installing this rail, it's definitely a very straightforward procedure. Anybody who's ever taken their barrel off, anybody who's ever swapped handrails before should have no problem doing this one. It's pretty much like any other tubular modular rail as far as putting it on. Anyway, as you can see here, I've already swapped out the factory Daniel Defense barrel nut for this proprietary Centurion Arms barrel nut. That's how it looks when it's installed. A note on this, when you're putting it on, a good thing about this barrel nut is it doesn't require any clocking. So all you need is a single tooth spanner wrench. There's tons of different ones available. You can even use the little key on the multitasker AR tool. There's a spanner wrench on that works for this as well. What you'll want to do is just torque this down to anywhere between 30 and 80 foot-pounds. I think we torqued this one down to 50, 55, something like that. And so it's perfect. And then once you get the new barrel nut on, of course, then you're going to swap your gas block back on, put the gas tube, gas block, and you know, get it all back together and be ready to go. A note on gas blocks. The gas block that I have on my rifle here is the factory Daniel Defense low profile pinned gas block. It is not the screw type. When it comes to this rail, being that the ID is so you know, small inside this rail, you definitely want to get your hands on a low profile gas block. It's a definite that the Centurion Arms low profile gas block works with this setup. I've already had this rail on this rifle, so I know for a fact that this gas block, this is one of the lowest profile gas blocks around, this Daniel Defense one. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you've got a very low profile, and especially in this area, gas block to fit so that this rail will fit over with clearance underneath right here. Anyway, once you've got those two things dialed in and everything all back together, you're ready to just you know, put the new handrail on. This is a one piece, so it's designed to slide over the front. Now, I do have my muzzle device on. It's a battle comp. It's very slim and, you know, similar to the profile of the barrel. If you have a larger you know, muzzle device on, then you will definitely want to keep that off until after you have this handrail over the top, just to ensure that you don't mess up your muzzle device, or just to ensure that it'll fit. Anyway, all you do is put the rail over the top of this whole setup, slide it down till you get it to this position right here. Once you have it here, you'll definitely want to kind of get your hands in place to ensure that it goes on straight, and then press it all the way down. Once you have it here, you can eyeball this if you'd like, but I tend to always go another route. What I do with this, in order to make sure that the rail is aligned for, you know, bolting it down and getting it all tightened up, I'll generally take an optic that has the, you know, Picatinny mount up top, and I'll actually throw this onto the, you know, I'll bridge the gap with the optic. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the tooth that's in right here into the first line right here on my rail. When you do this, get it in position, get it over, and then lock it down. Now once you do that, you're guaranteed to be completely straight between the top rail on the upper and the top rail on the new handguard. That plus it kind of holds it in place while you're working on the bolts. Now, when it comes to the bolts, there's two things that I think are really important in terms of tightening the bolts down for this handrail. First of all, the general construction of this, or design of this, is it's two bolts on one side and one bolt on another in an opposing pattern like so. One tightens down this way, the other two tighten down this way. So when you put these bolts on, you definitely want to make sure to constantly rotate between one side to the other, to the other, to the other. Kind of like when you're doing the lug nuts on a wheel. Every time you tighten one, the other two get loose, and then every time you tighten down the other two, the one gets loose. Since they're opposing, you have to constantly counteract the force of one to the other, to the other, to the other. So that's one thing to think of. The other thing is, when it comes to these screws, they are a nice grade 8 screw, and they do have a little coating all over the screw. Because this surface is going to seat against this bowled out surface right here, I usually tend to put a small drop, you know, just a tiny little drop of CLP onto this portion of the screw, like so. We kind of work it around just a little bit to coat that surface, because it is going to be rubbing, you know, as you tighten down. It is not the friction that holds the screw tight, but it is a friction surface as you're tightening. And if you don't put a little bit of lubricant in that area, what I've experienced is that you will kind of get a little bit of like creaking as it tightens up to its tightest, and that creaking can cause issues with whatever wrench you might be using. You want them to go in as smooth as possible and not, you know, skip, hop, and jump or have any issues when they're seating. So I just go ahead and kind of put that in with the lube on that face, and not even tighten it down. Just get it to a point where it's nearing flush but not flush, not tight. Same thing on the other side. I will go ahead and do the same here, putting a little bit of lubricant on that same surface, kind of just working it around, taking off any excess with my finger, and then putting it in and just getting it started down to a point where it starts to bite. I've seen other people with a lot of different methods for putting these bolts on. It is definitely a good idea to take your sweet time with this. If you do it right the first time, you won't have to redo it again, and you know, it's worth it to give yourself the best you know, mounting platform possible for this rail. All of the bite is on the clamping of this seam, so you definitely don't want to cost yourself any rigidity because you rush through getting it on your gun. So anyway, now that I've got them all just to the point where they're basically feeling tight, I will start the long process of getting each one, then the opposing, then the opposing, then the opposing. What I tend to do is I tend to figure out where the wrench is clocked. For instance, right here, it's about at 3, and I will tighten it about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch turn, like so, and then move on to the other side and do the same exact thing. Alright guys, so as you can see, I finally got it all tightened down, got it all nice and mounted exactly how I want. This is the way it looks, the 14-inch version on a 16-inch barrel with the Battle Cop 1.0. That's how much of the barrel sticks out of the end of this rail. The actual length on this rail is, I think, something like 13.66 inches or something like that. So it's not a full 14, but it's definitely, you know, it's definitely a great length for the long grab and hold. To give you a look, first of all, to show you, once you use that optic trick, you can get this nice and straight, nice and lined up. Here to show you the clearance on the gas block, the bottom of the Daniel Defense factory low profile gas block there. Plenty of room, nothing touching, and you can see it's a nice straight line there. You know, just reinforcing the fact that everything is nice and lined up just how it should be. As far as the way this looks with the grab, you can really get an idea of how small this thing is when you see how far. I mean, I don't have huge hands. My hands are pretty average in size, and I can easily get my hand all the way around and overlap my finger here with a grab, hold it like that, and definitely get a substantial purchase on the rail for, you know, quick target to target transition, quick manipulation all around. Just to finish this off, basically the last step, of course, you'll just want to, you know, of course, just put on your optics again. Get the front sight put back on. Get your whatever optic you might be running. Locked in place. And last but not least, it's an empty mag, but just to give you the final look. And there it is, all back together, ready to go, ready to take to the range and zero it up. So anyway, that's a look at the Centurion Arms CMR 14-inch. One absolutely amazing handrail. I freaking love this thing. You know, it has single-handedly brought me back to like the first days that I bought this AR, how excited I was about this thing. I just absolutely love this new look and new feel of this thing. And, you know, I'm going to love putting this thing through some serious abuse. So anyway, if you guys have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them below. As always, I'll do my best to get back to you. And stay tuned for more stuff coming real soon. I got tons of new gear, tons of new cool shit to share with you guys, and I'm really looking forward to it. So keep your eyes peeled, and I'll be back with you soon. Till next time, take it easy.